Holiday specials and winter cartoons have trained us to picture penguins and polar bears happily sharing the same block of ice. But if these two animals ever crossed paths in the wild, the result would be an immediate bloodbath. This global map highlights the equator in red, plotting the populations of all 18 distinct penguin species. You can clearly see that 0 native populations exist in the Arctic. They are strictly confined to the southern hemisphere. We know the freezing temperatures up north aren't the problem. This image shows a massive colony of emperor penguins thriving on the bleak, frozen expanse of Antarctica, the coldest environment on the planet. The cold isn't their only domain either. Look at this colony of African penguins, completely comfortable gathering on the sun-baked sandy beaches of South Africa. Some have pushed their territory all the way to the equator. Here, a Galapagos penguin sits isolated on jagged, dark volcanic rock, surviving in severe heat alongside warm tropical currents. We have an animal capable of dominating the harshest blizzard on Earth and enduring the blistering heat of the equator, yet something invisible is physically blocking every single penguin species from taking that final step north. To reach the Arctic, a penguin colony would first have to navigate the Earth's midsection, specifically the massive stretches of boiling hot equatorial ocean water that separate the hemispheres. An adult Galapagos penguin might occasionally cross the equator for a short swim, but migrating a population requires bringing the young, and penguin chicks simply cannot survive crossing hundreds of miles of open, warm ocean. Their own biology turns against them in this environment. A penguin's body is densely packed and covered in tightly overlapping, waterproof feathers designed to seal in heat. Plunging that body into warm currents for a prolonged journey causes lethal overheating. Bypassing the ocean to walk up the continents is physically impossible. On land, they move at a clumsy waddle, transforming them into slow, highly visible targets for any land-based predator. Between the lethal heat of the ocean and their vulnerability on land, the entire order of penguins is restricted to the southern side of the planet. But let's assume we bypass that geographic wall entirely. What if we scooped up a colony of emperor penguins and dropped them directly onto the North Pole? In this photo, you can see the bedrock of a penguin's survival in Antarctica. They rely on vast, stable stretches of rocky, snow-covered land to safely bather in the thousands, lay their eggs, and raise their chicks. Now look at the Arctic. The North Pole is mostly ocean, covered only by precarious, fractured chunks of sea ice that constantly drift. There is almost 0 stable ground to establish a permanent, secure breeding colony. Down south, once a penguin steps out of the water, it is safe from predators. In the north, the surface of the ice is an active hunting ground. This environment is already claimed. The Arctic is patrolled by packs of wolves, Arctic foxes, and the polar bear. Any slow, flightless bird trying to incubate an egg on this ice would be instantly slaughtered. Shifting ice and active predators turn the Arctic into a hostile environment for a slow-moving, flightless bird. Survival here requires a level of protection that the penguin's biological niche does not provide. Except nature already ran this experiment. Long before modern history, a slow, flightless, penguin-like bird did exist in the freezing waters of the north. It was called the great auk. This illustration of the great auk shows a bird completely unrelated to penguins, yet perfectly mirroring them. Through convergent evolution, it developed the exact same upright posture, sharp beak, and black and white coloring. It even repurposed its small wings into powerful flippers to hunt. Millions of great auks established massive, successful colonies across the rugged coastlines spanning from North America all the way to Europe. Their sprawling population proved the Arctic was highly survivable. The cold, the ice, and even the native predators were no match for a bird that adapted to face them head-on. So if a northern penguin successfully conquered the Arctic, we have to ask why those ice floes are empty today. The answer arrived in the 16th century, in the form of human expansion. As explorers and sailors pushed into these remote waters, the great auk faced a threat it hadn't evolved to counter. Their heavy, flightless bodies made them incredibly easy targets on land, offering 0 means of escape. This photograph reveals the economic driver behind the slaughter. The global fashion industry developed a frantic obsession with collecting the auk's soft down feathers to stuff high-end coats, hats, and mattresses. hunters turned a biological marvel into a highly profitable commodity. Over 3 centuries, hunters wiped out millions of birds, colony by colony. By 1844, the absolute last known great auk in existence was hunted down and killed on the jagged rocks of Eldey Island near Iceland. Today, these taxidermy cases hold the physical aftermath. All that remains of the northern penguin are a handful of lifeless, stuffed specimens sitting quietly behind museum glass. Antarctica's isolation provided the buffer that the great auk lacked. Surrounded by lethal oceans, southern penguins remained out of reach until human exploration reached its modern height, leaving them as the last survivors of their kind.